I'm not going to go through installing Composer today. Yeah, just you can go to getcomposer.org, and in fact, I will open it right now. Oh, opened on the wrong monitor. Here we go. Getcomposer.org. Let's have a look. So what you do is just go into getting started, and then it's dead simple, you know. This is how you do it. Very easy, really. Well, I say that. I shouldn't say that. That's rude. No, this is how I have it installed. It's not really that easy, but yeah, if you've never done this sort of thing before. But it's doable. You can. I have confidence in you, listener, that you can do it. Now, let's go back to my notes. Another thing I need to clarify before we start is that yeah, it's Twitter. No, that's not what we want. We're not skiving off right now. So before we start, I should clarify that I'm using this Drupal Composer Drupal project. So exactly what it says: Composer template for Drupal projects. Quick installation by blah 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 blah. Yes, and that's exactly what we're going to do. Now, how should I define what this thing is? I'll start typing, and then no doubt as I do that, thoughts will come into my mind. Composer, create project. You'll hopefully notice something here. Drupal-composer, Drupal-project. Right, so Composer create project is creating a project from a template. So this here, in here, is the template. Hopefully that makes some sense. Ping me in the chat if not. Well, what we're going to tell it importantly is that we want 8.x/dev because we can't not have some Drupalisms in there. What are we going to call this project? So that's the next thing you put in here. I don't know. Let's call it a simple commerce, because this is the hardest part, right, of everything. Naming stuff. Horrible. And the stability is dev. This confused a lot of people at the Drupal meetup. It doesn't mean that the stability of all of your dependencies is going to be development. At least I don't think so, according to the from what I can make out from the documentation. What it means is it's going to get the development version of this here. Yes. It still confuses me even a little bit. And then we have no interaction. I don't know if it asks any dumb questions if I don't put this in, but, well, you could always try that for yourselves and find out. Is anybody following along, by the way? Do say if you are. I see Jimmy Nash is very excited that it's Composer time. Well done, that man. Oh, yeah. Right. What's it doing? Well, what it does first is it gets the template. And then it installs everything from there. All the dependencies. So you got like Drupal Composer, Drupal Scaffold, which is another project. You get Composer Patches. And then that's what outputs this every time. Patching is disabled. Skipping. Patching is disabled. There's reasons for that. It's not very interesting. Just to say that it's okay that it outputs that. And then we get all sorts of interesting libraries. But now the first thing... Oh, no! Before I do that, the first thing we should do... Wait. What on earth did I call that? What did I call that? I called it Simple Commerce. There we go. Right. Excellent memory. So the first thing we want to do is open up composer.json, which is the all-important file for Composer, and see what we've got. Right, we want to edit the name. So now that we've downloaded this template here, we get to make it our own. So the composer.json file still has all of the information from the template. So we can just change it. So let's call this the Drupal stream, for want of a better term. Simple commerce. Let's do that. And now we get to edit the description. Ah, right, yeah, Jimmy Nash has a good question. I'll just get to that in a second. That's project. Hopefully my typing isn't too loud. There we go. Something else you'll probably want to edit is the README, because as you can see, what's in the README is also exactly the same as the template. So, it would change that. Obviously, I'm not going to go through right now and rename everything. So, now, Jimmy Nash asks, is the GitHub project downloaded locally, or is Composer picking that up based on the name you used? Right, yes, that is a good question. Yeah, Composer is picking it up based on the name that I used. What it will do, it will go to... Come on, where is Packagist? Yeah, I thought it was Packagist. I'm surprised that's not in my list of stuff I have visited before. So what it's doing is it's looking here. It goes to Packagist. Ah, here's another important thing about that related to that question. You see here, we have the Drupal Composer package library. By default, Composer comes with Packagist as its package library. So if you've ever used apt, apt-get, or you've ever used, trying to think of brew on the Mac, it does a similar thing, right? You type in the name of what you want, it goes to the package repository or the lists it's downloaded from the package repository and says, well, where do I get that thing from? Then what the package repository does is it says, that's available through this GitHub. And then Composer goes to GitHub and downloads what you want. And to prove that that's what's happening, let's type in Drupal-composer / oh, there's Drupal scaffold. You see that's on there. Whoa, look at that. 307,000 downloads. That's not bad. And then / Drupal project. Ah, this isn't going to go horribly wrong on me, is it? No, here it is. 42,000 downloads. That's not too shabby. Not as great as that Drupal scaffold there, though. Yeah, so it will go here onto Packagist and find it. Oh, I'm getting distracted by what's on this page. So yeah, you can also, well, you don't have to download it as a template even. You can download it as a requirement, although that would be really bizarre, and I don't know under what circumstances you'd want to do that. Now, the version numbers. Does that answer your question, Jimmy Nash? Is that helpful? Right. I'll just move on to version numbers while we're waiting for a reply from Jimmy Nash. Great, Jimmy Nash. Excellent answer. Clears that right up. Carry on. Okay, great. I shall. So, version numbers. These funny symbols here are very important. So, for example, well, there's a lot of funny symbols. Which ones do I mean? I mean this one, like the caret and the tilde. They are documented on getcomposer.org, and I will just get you the URL for that. I'm trying to find. I have the chat open on a separate computer, so yeah, that's not going to work. But anyway, getcomposer.org /doc /articles /versions.md. This tells you how these constraints here work. What I can tell you, what we're looking at, here we are. Next significant release operators. Right. That tells you exactly what these tilde and the carets mean. But I can tell you right now, anyway. But if you want to, fact check me if you want to go and look for yourself, then that's where the documentation is. The caret is pretty useful for Drupal in that this will download any non-breaking version. So if you use semantic versioning, if you know anything about semantic versioning, I'm just going to do something invalid in the file, but it doesn't matter, just to give you an example. So if we have version 1, 2, 3, under semantic versioning, if we increment this, then that's an API change. It's going to break all of your libraries. If you increment this, it means that you're making a non-API breaking change, but you're introducing new features. And this is just bug fixing. You're not. If you increment this number under semantic versioning, it's just a bug fix. What the caret means, when you stick a caret in front of this in Composer, it will download any version up to but not including 5. So this version, it won't get. Caret this, if you put this into here, it will not download version 5, but it would download version 4.10.26, or any other version number under the 4 series. What this one does is the tilde is any... Oh, this is actually quite difficult to explain. It's any number, any minor increase. So, for example, if we type 8.0.0, then with the tilde, you increment this, Composer will download it. Composer will download this, Composer will download this version, Composer will download this version here. That's fine. But if you increment this, Composer won't download it. I hope that makes sense. So it's the last. It will update the last number in the series, in the version. Now, how that caches out though is interesting, because if you don't have this last number and you increment this, and this becomes your last number, then Composer will download it. Composer will download this. Composer will download this. Composer will download that as well. What Composer will not download in this case, because it's only the last number that you're allowed to change and still have downloaded, it will not download that. So that also works quite well for Drupal. They're both very similar. Yeah, they're both very similar, but important differences. What's next? And as I said, yeah, it's all documented on getcomposer.org. Now, notice, well, we already discussed this a little bit, but Drupal, we have a Drupal repository there, and that is fully supported. It is provided by the Drupal project, because the Drupal project now fully supports Composer. It's like official. And in fact, Drupal core uses Composer. So, yeah. This here is what allows us to use Drupal modules as dependencies. There was some controversy I saw on Reddit r/PHP that Drupal has its own packagist at all. They're like, well, it's not getting off the island, is it? Well, yeah, but no. There's an important distinction here about what Drupal developers will put on the Drupal packagist. Modules. Drupal modules will go on the Drupal packagist, right? It makes sense to put them there, and it doesn't really make sense to put Drupal-specific code which relies on Drupal into the main PHP packagist so much. I think it could be done, and it would be all right, but I also don't think there's anything really wrong with making your own repository just for Drupal-specific code. But what you'll see later is that when Drupal module developers who are using Composer develop generic libraries, they should put their libraries onto Packagist so that everyone can download them, which is good. And I have a quick drink of water. before we get on to the differences between require and require dev. Normally, when you just say Composer install, or you're running Composer install, it will download all of your dependencies. That's require and require dev. So the idea is that these are just the requirements for your development environment. Require dev, development environment. Makes sense, right? But then what you do when you're continuous deployment, or you're running Composer to install your live site, your production site, you run it Composer install no dev. But we'll try that a little bit later. I really probably should have run over Composer update and install before going through all of this, but this is important. Okay, so now we're having a look at the gitignore file. This gitignore file comes with the Composer template, which is one of the reasons why I quite like this template. It comes, with some useful additions like this gitignore file. What have we got in here? So almost everything that Composer will download for us is obviously in the gitignore file. So this means that we specifically exclude third-party code from our Git repositories. And if you check this, I should specify quickly that when Composer downloaded all of our files, it put Drupal into web /web. So probably makes the gitignore file make a bit more sense. Right. So as you can see, Drupal core here is not included in the repository. So we won't be committing Drupal core to our repository. And just to sum up the templating part of it, Composer create project has created the structure into which we'll load everything, load our dependencies. Another thing to look at, we do ls-lar and have a look at what's in here. You'll see that there's a composer.json and a composer.lock file. The lock file is important, and it should be included in your version control, especially if you're using continuous deployment. So this is like a cache, or, well, as it says actually up at the top here, this is a really good explanation. Locks the dependencies of your project to a known state. So it specifies, well, actually, let's have a quick look at composer.json, and we can have a look at the different version numbers, but this will hopefully make this come clear. You see in here, we specify our top level dependencies. We say we want Drupal Composer, Drupal Scaffold, we want Drupal core. We specify exactly what we want there. But then in the lock file, Composer will go and find exactly where to download it from. You can see here it's downloading Alchemy /zippy from github.com, and then it's got the commit that it wants to get. It knows the exact version that it wants to download, and it does this for all of your dependencies, all the dependencies of your dependencies, and so on. And it caches all kinds of stuff and locks all kinds of stuff until you get nearly 6,000 lines of information about your project, your dependencies of your project. And I don't think I made any changes, Vim, so no thanks. Right. That's that. That's all the files. And yeah, like I said, you would want to commit that to version control. So before we move any further, I just want to do a Composer update. And I think this tells you pretty much what it's doing as it goes. It looks at the repositories, it updates its dependencies. Hopefully it's not going to take too long. At least it does give me a break to take a quick drink of water. No way! Oh, it removed something. Oh, okay. I wasn't expecting that, but fine. So it just likes to, the cat is here. We may get assistance with our presentation today from the cat. No, she's sitting in a different chair. That's good. We welcome cats on our presentations and our streams. So now what am I doing? I'm typing in Composer require Drupal/commerce. So again, Jimmy Nash, it's like it's going to look for this based on the name Drupal/commerce, and it's going to find that out from the Drupal.org packagist, I believe. So when I type this, let's see what happens. And I should clarify what I'm doing. I'm saying that my project requires Drupal commerce. Makes sense, doesn't it? You'll notice there's also some Drupal specific stuff happening in here. This comes from the template that we're using, the Drupal Composer Drupal project. I'm not exactly sure what it's doing. I believe one of the things it does is creates the autoloader. Well, actually, I know there's checking the Composer version. Well, yes, okay. I have actually written Composer plugins. I've done a couple of them, and I actually can't remember anything about them. So I think it must have been pretty easy, or, you know, a pretty pleasant experience, because I would remember if it was horrible. And it's not too bad. It does some clever stuff with auto-loading, and yeah. Not a bad experience creating Composer plugins at all. So, when we required... let me just check my notes here, sorry. Right, okay, my notes are telling me the way to go is to open up our composer.json file and point out to everyone that Drupal commerce is in here. Right, and who am I to ignore the notes? Right, so we got a caret. So that will download any version of commerce up to, but not including 3. So, you know, once 2.0 gets released, then the caret means that it will download version 2.0, it will download version 2.1, etc. Now, what's important also to notice is commerce. Unlike Drush Make, I haven't had to say, all right, I want commerce version 2 beta, I need CTools version 2 or whatever it's at now, and all the other dependencies. You just say, I want commerce and I want it at any version up to but not including 3. That's pretty nice. It means you don't have to worry so much. You know, otherwise, if this was Drush Make, I would have had to... no. Excuse me. Right. That was my fault. If we had Drush Make, then I would have had to sort this out. Common Skies International, State Machine. I don't even know what that is. Put it in the make file. Drupal Entity, I'd put it in the make file. Right. Great. No fun at all. Very tedious and time consuming. So it's also chosen the best version for us as well. Composer did. I didn't have to say that I wanted version 2.0 beta, was it? I wasn't even paying attention. Doesn't matter. Composer just did it for me. I'm not saying that it always picks the best version. Right. And then, yeah, you can see that it's automatically downloaded 11 dependencies for us. That's pretty nice. Now, my notes are telling me, they are leading the way, that I should open this up. Because, right, I should explain what I'm opening before, rather than just saying, I have to do it because the notes tell me to. Really, what we're doing, remember, Drupal is inside the web directory. So we keep our web root in a subdirectory. And yeah, everything else like our vendor directory and whatnot, and a bunch of other stuff is a level higher than that. So this is the Drupal root directory. Then we go into modules, contrib, which by the way is in our gitignore, just saying, and then commerce, composer.json. What? Commerce has a composer.json? Yes, it does. It comes with its own composer.json, and that's how Composer knows what the dependencies for that project are. Notice, by the way, Jimmy Nash, here is the name that it uses. So that's what we typed into Composer require Drupal/commerce. it knows how to get it based on that. And, something else that's useful here. I believe all the Drupal / stuff would be downloaded from the Drupal core packages, but you've got this, which is, although there's Drupal address, I believe actually Drupal address has a non-Drupal dependency as well. So these ones, this one especially, and all of its dependencies, get downloaded from Packagist, not from the Drupal.org repository. So that's cool. We are getting off the island based on that. Let's have a look in the vendor directory as well. Talking about stuff that's downloaded from Packagist. Well, that all gets put into the vendor directory. You can see there's a heck of a lot of stuff in here, isn't there? Whoa. So what I did want to point out is that under vendor there is a Commerce Guys directory. Yeah, you see there the Commerce project does require a few just standard PHP libraries. I think most, if not all of these, they've developed themselves. But the point is they've put them on Packagist and they're available for any PHP developer to use, not just Drupalers. Fantastic. Right, now we are going to go deep. Assuming I can type correctly. We are going to go deep inside Commerce. So we got web modules, contrib, commerce. And we're going into that. But then we're going to look inside the modules inside Commerce. So the submodules. We're going to look at the price module in particular. And then the currency importer. There's nothing especially special about currency importer. It's just, it does what we want to have a look at next. So this gets a bit hairy here. So we want to note that repository international. Oh, right, it's right at the top. Use Commerce Guys /international /country repository. So we're getting into PHP's namespacing stuff and autoloader territory now. I won't go into the stuff about the autoloader, and it's not because I don't know, or because I don't, but also because that's kind of out of scope for today. But what it's doing here is we should notice. Let's just get that. So remember, Commerce Guys, international, country repository. Now, if I go and look in vendor, and actually it'd be better if I vimmed it, wouldn't it? And then we can look at the file itself. Right, vendor. So now, remembering that use line, we go into vendor, Commerce Guys. It was international. Source, that's something the autoloader looks at automatically. Then country repository .php. We will see that the namespace matches the namespace in the other file. Well, in fact, if I can do some clever vimmery, we can open both files at the same time. And maybe not. Yes? No? No. That doesn't look right. Well, okay, fine. Be like that, Vim. I don't care. Right. So yeah, if we remember... Oh, yes, I know why that wasn't working. Never mind. So the namespace is Commerce Guys, international country, just like you remembered, right? And then country repository is the name of the class. So the point of that is that inside your Drupal module, you can load up any PHP library that's downloaded into vendor. So anything that's in your composer.json here can be loaded from inside the code of your Drupal module. That's getting a bit into development, so I don't want to go any further. I think what we'll do next is we will spin up a Drupal site and we'll install Commerce on it. And that will nearly be it for today. unless anyone has any questions about what we've done so far. I just have to edit this, and I'm just getting my development environment sorted out here just quickly. Just ignore this. Don't pay any attention. Hopefully, when I do this, it won't break horribly. Okay, that seemed to work. File not found? No. Great. Oh, excuse me, sniffling. Right, standard. Yes. Drupal. Drupal. Every field is Drupal. Oh no, now you know all my passwords. Oh dear, what will I do? Beg your pardon? What? Ah, no. No, every field is not Drupal. Gosh. Yes, that's more like it. Pressing enter works, right? Right? Yeah. No, don't want to save that password, funnily enough. Ah, Jimmy Nash declares that he is interested in that Docker stuff too. Yes. Maybe another time. Maybe next time. Because I'm pretty interested in it. I like it, the Docker stuff. Let's just... Simple commerce. Test. Yeah. Chrome knows. Admin. So username's going to be admin. Password's going to be... Oh, we better make it Drupal, hadn't we? Site parser's going to be Drupal. This is literally what I do on all of my live sites. You should do this too. That's a joke. Oh, wait, geez, please don't do that. No, we're not from Cameroon. Canada, of course. Should be the default. No. Right, let's go. Let's save and continue. Nah, you're all right. You don't need to save that. There is actually a cunning command we can use to get into our Docker containers. This is all, though, local development environment stuff. So just ignore it. You know, if you're using, I don't know, Apache or Nginx and PHP just installed on your local machine, then that will work just fine. I am going to log in here and use Drush, though. And I want to do ncommerce, right? Right. So you can see that Drush is still relevant. Well, what you can't use, though, is... what was I going to say? I got distracted by Jimmy Nash in the chat. What is it you can't use from Drush? Yeah, you can't use Drush DL, and if you do that, then you're most likely going to have problems, especially since that third-party code won't be committed into your project repository. Now, let's see. Oh, and just for posterity, Drupal is actually the password to Jimmy Nash's luggage. So if anyone needs to get into Jimmy Nash's luggage, he does advise that that's his password. Great, thank you for adding that. Now, as I scroll around maniacally in the Drupal admin section, right? So I have gone to admin/modules, and I'm going to come in here. Well, I'm just going to check everything. I've come down to commerce, and now I'm just going to check everything. Commerce cart, yeah, we want that. Who doesn't want a shopping cart? Well, actually, I've done projects where you don't use it. Yeah, okay, shut up, Liam. Commerce checkout, yeah, who doesn't want to checkout? Everyone loves that. Oh, everyone loves order. Everyone loves payment. By the way, actually, Drupal 7 project with commerce cart, the commerce people are all saying, I've seen them say anyway, you know, we decoupled all our components and nothing is required. We did a project without cart and commerce broke horribly. Not impressed with that. So anyway, but that's a commerce problem, which we're not going to deal with today. Commerce payment example. Who doesn't want that? Commerce product. Yes. Commerce is decoupled as long as you use all the components. Commerce promotion and commerce store. Who doesn't want all those things? Yeah, let's install them and see how it goes. The point really here that we're demonstrating is that we got all of this stuff with Composer and it just installed. All I had to say was Composer require Drupal/commerce, and it went and got all of this for us. And there it is. Look, there's our shop. Have we had any orders yet? No? What? People in the chat, come on, let's go and buy some stuff. No, just being stupid, no. Anyway. I do like how fast Drupal 8 seems to be, and how fast PHP 7 is. I believe this is running PHP 7. It's very nice. But anyway, we have, I think, anyway, especially if you're using Drush Make, which is what we used to use for large Drupal projects, we're just saving so much time from not having to assemble modules. Even if you're having to worry about, modules like CTools, having to worry about that kind of dependency, even on smaller sites, this should save you some time, because it's not just PHP libraries that can be dependencies, it's modules as well. So maybe entity module, maybe rules as a dependency, those kind of modules, API modules, they can be downloaded automatically using Composer, and you save a lot of time, especially if you were using Drush Make. Also, another good thing about Composer is that this is a really great way for Drupal to get off the island, right? I know that the Drupal.org packagist is kind of a stopgap measure. We haven't got all of the Drupal modules onto packagist.org yet, and that apparently was quite controversial for some people. It thinks apparently that means that we're not actually getting off the island, but really you can see with the work that Commerce Guys are doing that they are contributing back to the wider PHP ecosystem, and hopefully if people say, well, see what they made that contribution for, which is the commerce module for Drupal, then them getting off the island themselves, making generic PHP libraries, them doing that raises the profile of Drupal overall, right? It makes Drupal more popular. And similar with Symfony as well. So yeah, I'm hoping from this that you're sold on using Composer, at least with Drupal 8. Drupal 7, I'm not sold myself, but Drupal 8, I think it's pretty much a requirement. So that is where we will end things today. But yeah, are there any questions before I go? If anyone would like to get on the TeamSpeak or anything, I don't think there's that many people watching. But yeah, before we finish, any questions? Right, great. So another thing before we go, I was thinking about maybe making this a regular or semi-regular thing. I have, let's go and see actually. We'll just completely change the subject from Composer. Oh, Jimmy Nash enjoyed it. That's great. As long as one person enjoyed it, that's fine with me. I'm very glad you enjoyed it, Jimmy Nash. So hopefully you got something out of it. Is it user stats? Oh, yeah. Wow. So, yeah, look at that. 4th of November, 2007. You are welcome, Angus Muir. Thanks for joining us. Do either of you have any questions before I go off on this tangent? Seems like the stream is a little bit behind anyway. Great. Well, we could always, if there are a few questions, actually, I'm going to back this up on YouTube anyway. So if there are a bunch of questions, then maybe we should do an advanced Composer session in the future. Oh, great. Oh, so Angus Muir says no questions. I just wanted an overall idea of what it was about. No specific need right now. So did I cover everything you want then? Did this give you a good overall idea? And I wish there was less delay on the stream. Yes, says Angus. Perfect. And Jimmy Nash asks if I can post the YouTube link over to the original Reddit thread as well. Yes, I will do that. Right. Next. So, user stats, right? This last commit was 3 years ago. Yeah, pretty sad, really. There's quite a few open issues. We've got, a Drupal 7 dev release was the last thing that I did. So I was thinking in a future stream, I could live upgrade this. I don't know whether that would be any fun. So yeah. What do you guys think? Maybe if I include this, I'll leave this in the YouTube video, and then people can post whether they think that's a good idea or a dumb idea. It would be kind of a module conversion stream from Drupal 7 to Drupal 8. Maybe I'll do that next week. But either way, I'll post it on Reddit and on Twitter. I'm available on @toiletgoodies. On Twitter, which is a ridiculous name, but never mind. It is what it is. So, yes, thank you. Oh, Jimmy Nash loves the idea of doing a user stats upgrade stream. Fantastic. Jimmy Nash is great. He just loves everything. I like this man. Still new to Jimmy Nash is still new to module development for 8. Yeah, so am I, really. So it could be interesting. It could be that I'd need help from the chat as much as you would need help from me on that one. But anyway, okay, it's been great, and thank you so much for coming, everyone, including the lurkers who didn't say anything. That's perfectly fine. So thank you for coming, and hopefully I'll see you next week.